this is Higgsy doing another video, and probably talk about some fringe topics. Get into the swing of things, I guess. So, first one we'll talk about is probably global warming. Actually, I was watching stuff about volcanoes. So I think there's a natural cycle on the planet whereby it heats up, and then there's probably a large eruption of volcanoes. Then we think we had the ice age, and then it goes through a process of sort of adjusting back. And it also depends on the sun. It has like a solar blast every 11 years. I don't think we've had a full whack of it, but I think if we do, we can certainly know about it. But so the solar activity kicks off some earthquakes, or that the earthquakes, which would be also a bit more fringe for some people, is possibly stargates. There might be things underground that are causing these tremors, because some of the earthquakes aren't in the location you'd expect them to be. They're not on fault lines and stuff like that. Yeah, possibly. We'll have to have a look at ancient sites, locations of earthquakes. I'm trying to think why they're clustering in certain areas. Basically, got to put some research. You can come up with sort of a theory that might be out there a bit for some people, or maybe some people are like, yeah, sure, I'm sure that shit's been going on for ages. So you know, it's one of those things. What causes these earthquakes? Is it just like the geosphere of the magnetosphere of the planet adjusting to the impact of sort of solar storms and some other sort of thermodynamic issues inside the planet. But looking towards my research on the volcanoes, is that if you're worried about global warming, so if you want, rather than wait until an eruption happens to cool down a section of the planet, which are probably result in the decimation of certain species and then the rise of other species, likely, because when you remove, well, it's a bit like the COVID. If you remove one variant, another variant will step in, and then that variant undergoes more mutations because suddenly it's in competition with itself. There's a large number of it, and so you start creating different mixtures, genetic mixtures based on that, really, I guess. And then there's also the effect of stress. So you put into a new, different environment. If your environment changes and you live in it, you can't get out of it. So you've got two options: you either die, or you get stronger, or adapt to the situation. It's quite busy today. So they could stick sulfur dioxide into the fuel. I can't remember if that makes acid rain when it mixes up like hydrogen or something. Otherwise, it'd be good to add it to. Well, you talk about chemtrails, some good ones maybe. But if that's what's going on, because it could be just natural cycles, you could bang on about carbon emissions and try and do stuff on Earth. But if you simply added something to the fuel, that would probably make it smell like bad egg slightly. At least you could tell if a car's engine on it's like, whoa, or how strong it is, the exhaust in an area. Then that would end up producing sunlight, and it does it for quite a while. But yeah, if a super volcano goes off and it blasts up loads of soot into the atmosphere, and you got the sulfur dioxide, it can last up to 10 years of a cold weather. So that was one subject. I couldn't really read on. There we go. Should be looking at something. I made little notes actually today. A milk thistle. I've been taking a milk thistle supplement, and it actually helps with IBS. So if you suffer from IBS, it can improve on that. Basically, stools are a bit more solid. So there's a liver function involved sometimes with IBS stuff. Moving on to next subject, quick subject, heartfulness and grief. I recently had someone die that I was friends with, I guess, and he's a client, and for like 3 years. And when you kind of feel that sadness that comes here, like a tension here, before your eyes want to sort of well up, you can feel like the circulation go there. What I did to retract it back to the heart. So I just focused on that kind of tension of the heart. It's a bit like pride, you get a sort of on your chest. So once you lock in onto that emotional state, it's like you've switched it on. And then you're able to allow the emotional sides to sort of connect. I was also trying to connect the stomach as well, because you know when you suffer from grief or shock, you can go off your appetite. So there's the minds. So I mean the kind of maybe the far right might talk about the spiritual aspects, but then for someone who's more scientific mind, I might talk about the neurological aspects, and that these are kind of they're minds in themselves that are integrated with each other in networks, and so they share responsibility. So if you can attune them, so the brain has more of an acceptance. It depends where you feel the grief. Some people might feel it in the heart, feel like, oh, I feel really low, like betrayal or something. But there's holding on to that and savouring that emotion and really understanding it, because you only feel it rarely. You know what it means, but you don't fully understand what it means. So it's digging into it. Why do I feel this way? And a part of it is to make you go back to your tribe, unify against it, make you think about it actually. So yeah, and do you need to cry? Not really. I think if you connect to that heart something, you can bring a kind of inner peace to yourself, but you're concentrating on the emotional aspects of it rather than the kind of visual aspects or thinking about it. So what comes with your thinking network in your head, because there's some problems you can't solve, and they're obviously traumatic because they've affected you, but they're more of an emotional thing we have to work on, because I can't bring it back to life. So I need to concentrate on the feelings rather than think about, you know, what's happened. Could there have been a way to prevent it? Could there not? And not really, because it's actually old age. They just caught up with them. So yeah, the heartful technique's quite good. Savouring emotions quite good. It's like savouring bliss. It's like a lot of things really. It's like you need to actually be in the mindset to sort it out. So there's mindfulness is important as well, but you don't want to be stuck in just using that as a tool set, because it still has to use that mind. And if your mind's been hit by a lot of stuff at a time, like trauma, rerouting it is, you need to really do it, is the emotional detachment from it. And it might deepen my empathy, so it's quite interesting. Next subject, I might be getting some bugs. I'm going to get some bugs to eat. There's companies that sell bugs, and you basically eat them. But with the COVID, the economy, you know, having things like mealworms and grasshoppers, they do, might be the way of the world, afraid in the future. And so actually, you know, seeing if they're palatable, see if I can handle eating them. So I might get there and have a look at that. Maybe do a little eating bug review. I said I know I'm going on my own way, but this is getting a bit too far. And I guess also with that, go in your own way. I think I've probably not really ramped down here, but I think there's a point where you evolve beyond it. It's like saying, I've got a problem, now I've got a solution. Great, get on with it. That's what I need to do. Put things into motion. Otherwise it gets a bit like, talking about that problem again. But then again, sometimes it's important. I think really it's a psychological aspect. And the other thing I realised was, on that kind of subject, is fear and attraction tend to be married into each other. So I guess it's on values that makes a person attracted, but you also tend to fear them. There's that kind of excitement, adrenaline. That's the same if you meet somebody you're strongly attracted to, because it causes an internal change that makes you feel uneasy in yourself. And I think if you interpret that from the wrong social signals, it can be reversed and be like, oh, I'm scared of them, I don't want anything to do with them. Because I've had it with clients. They said, I'm scared of men, but when I've actually seen them, they've been really excited to see me. It's like, well, you thought you said you were scared of me. So it's really weird. Anyway, peace on. Bye.